definitely tell people to take the exams. When you take the exams, it makes you more competitive. It's a lot of fear, even like this life is a risk. So if you are risking something, just make sure you're risking something valuable. I won't tell you to go. I mean, I've been mentoring people for quite a while now. I've seen different excuses from people. I had one person told me that, oh, he wants to go and sell his land so that he can get money to write the exams. Like, no, don't sell your land. Your land is there. Find the money somewhere else. I want you to do the exam, but don't go and sell your land. It's your land, it's there, and you still have to even pay for flight ticket, visa fee, and every other big money that will still come up when your applications are successful. So
okay, let me just go straight into. I would like us to go into nitty-gritty of your application process. Like, how
okay.
many schools did you apply to in the US before you finally got your yes? So
So
can you just tell us the experience from writing the standardized test to securing the admission? What was the story like?
okay.
Can you just explain?
Sure. So like I was saying, like I said earlier on, I was a program manager, program coordinator, whatever. I was doing that. It was a very busy time for me, and so most other people also have very busy schedule. So when I registered for the exam, so I looked into the requirements. I noticed that they needed GRE for agricultural economics and economics program, and I noticed they needed TOEFL for the program I'm interested in. So I decided to go to take those exams. I registered for the exams and I started preparing. It was a tough one. One thing I remember is that I usually I have it on my phone. I have like PDFs on my phone, GRE PDFs on my phone. I open when I'm traveling because of my job. My job involves traveling a lot. So I usually open my phone and the PDF on my phone and study. And whenever I have the time to sit down properly, then I go and sit down and try to write, try to solve some of the questions. So that's just a call to everyone here. You are busy, you are working 8 to 5, you think you don't have the time. Definitely have the time. You just have to be able to squeeze out the time so that you could study. And again, the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost. So you want to find time to study for your exam. So yeah, when I discovered that I need to write the exams and all, I started preparing my materials, my SOP. I wrote my SOP. I sent it to colleagues also. I sent it to colleagues to help me to review. They reviewed it. They gave me their feedbacks. I incorporated their feedbacks into my work. And it's not even compulsory. You incorporate every of the feedbacks. You just need to incorporate the feedback you think it will be, you think it's necessary for you.
Are you there?
Yes, so I incorporated the feedbacks and I started to email schools and professors. I started to email schools and professors, and even before me writing the exam. So it was this kind of negative reinforcement, I would say. Even before I started writing, even before I wrote the exam, I started emailing schools, I started emailing professors, trying to know what their take is and all. So I got positive response from the professors and from the school. Oh yeah, I applied to our school. You're a good candidate and all. And when I wrote the exam, I sent an email back to those schools and told them, yes, I have my results now. So do you still think I'm a good candidate? And some didn't even reply me again. So yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting time. But yeah, I prepared my materials.
How many schools did you apply to?
I
To be
applied
specific.
to 9 schools. if I remember correctly.
How many?
Uh,
How many funding?
I got funded in. Okay, so let me be straightforward. I applied to 9 schools. 2 of them were free applications. So I don't want to really count them as an application, but it's part of my applications. But I've seen some people that got funded even through free applications. The free application is not that I asked the guidance coordinator for waiver. It was just, oh, we are waiving our application fee. It was just like a very
For this
free
week?
thing. Yeah, so
A
it's,
free week, yeah, free week webinar, yeah.
yeah, so many, I guess so many people applied, and to be sincere, it's not my best shot also. Some of them, so one of them, I'm sure it was not my best shot. I just like sent in my application. So literally I applied to 7 schools. I got funded. I got admitted in 6 of them. I got funded in 3 of them. I got partial funding in 2 of them, and I got fully funded in 1 of them, and that's where I chose, which is University of New Mexico. And it
Yeah,
was one of my last applications.
okay. Let's go into the application process. In choosing New Mexico, what what did you consider to be your expectation? Because I know the course you are currently studying is not agri-economics. What was your view? Why go for a course that is not 100% of what you did in your undergraduate or masters?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for the question. First, one thing that motivated me for choosing this program is the funding, the full funding. I don't have money, though I was working, and most people also, you are on the call, maybe not say most people, I would say some people on the call that do not have money, like I still don't have money anyways. But I don't have, I don't have money to pay schools, and my greatest motivation or my greatest incentive is the funding, the full funding I got from the university. And looking at the program also, when I had my bachelor's, I had my bachelor's in agricultural economics and extension. I had my master's in agricultural economics. So I thought, fine. So since I keep cutting things off, bachelor's was agricultural economics and extension. My master's, I cut the extension off. So I was like, okay, let me cut
Because
agriculture
they are
off.
Greek.
So I
That's
found
hilarious.
myself I found myself in doing economics, and it has been a very interesting thing. My research is actually related to agriculture. So one of the components in my research is purely agriculture. It's purely agriculture, which is, I mean, it's economics. I'm looking at the economics of it, but it's purely agriculture around in New Mexico. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. The major reason why I'm asking this question is one of the things I've noticed over time why people don't get admitted is most of the time our choices of course are not really funded. There's a difference between I want this course and there's a course that has funding that is fully funded. Like I had a chat with one of these scholars one of this day, and he was saying something like he studied medical physics, but funding was not in medical physics.
Mhm.
And those that were admission committee were telling him, if you apply to these, only 2 persons will be given of funding. If you apply to these other option, physics. So what will you be your advice for people applying? Should you advise them to be flexible in choice of courses? And
Yeah.
how do they identify courses that have more funding
Oh,
relatively?
yeah, thank you so much for that question. So yeah, that's also my experience. I applied, like I said, I did agricultural economics. So I applied to agricultural economics programs, and there was no funding coming forth. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we give you admission, but no funding." Like, do you expect me to just bring all my naira converted to dollars, and it's not doesn't even worth anything in dollars? And no, I said, I keep, pushing it, and they said, no, there's no funding for me. One of the programs was Ttu Texas Tech. And for that, my application came in late, and they said, oh, they have distributed funding. They finished distributing funding, and I can only get partial funding. It's like, okay, I don't want partial funding. I want full funding. If you can't give it to me, then there's nothing I can do to that. And so Yes, people should definitely be flexible. So yeah, when I was doing that, I noticed that agricultural economics is not coming forth. Then I was like, economics is very good also. And we have like research areas also, like that's research areas that are linked to agricultural economics, like I was telling you. So, you need to be flexible. Your course particularly may not have funding, may not be really funded. You need to look at close courses, close departments, something related to what you are doing, or something related to the work you are doing. I have so these are like two different things. If the course you are doing, and again, I used to say this thing. Some people when we finish our secondary school, I want to believe many people here are Nigerians. When we finished our secondary school, you want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be so many good jobs that you think they are good jobs. And you did jump, and jammed you. And jammed you. And you still insisted, that you still want to do that course. You did jam again the following year. You couldn't get your desired results. And your parents like, oh, think about better enter and you cross over, or maybe your big bros or bring a sister there, oh, they can cross over, they can do this again. So you apply to school, and instead of your course, you were given agricultural economics. And I'm using agricultural economics because that's what I did. But that's not how my story went, actually. I actually chose agricultural economics. But a lot of people were given a course that they did not want to do. So they did that course for 4 or 5 years or 6 or 7 years, depending on strike and how things were at the time you were studying for your bachelor's. But you don't like that course. You do not like that course. You want to change the course, and you want to change the course. You want to do something else in a different country. So one thing you can do is to build yourself and change the course. So you can definitely apply to schools or to departments that are related to what you are doing, or you can apply to department or to course that are related to the work you are doing. So it doesn't have to be your particular course. It may be if you're working in a banking and you finished school and you got a job in the bank, maybe your uncle is one senator and got you a job in the bank. And you have been working in the bank for like 4 years and you like the banking job. Why do you have to go back to agricultural economics? You have experience in banking and industry. You can definitely push your application into banking and industry. Hopefully they have funding also. So you have to also be flexible in your application, build your application materials in area you want to see yourself in the next 10 years, or maybe 5 or
thanks
10
a lot.
years.
So, I have just three more questions for you before we let the floor open for questions before I invite the next person. The three questions I will ask them straightforward and you would answer. We all understand that United States has over 3,000 universities. How can I navigate my way to getting the right universities? Some universities are community universities. They don't have PhD programs.
Yeah.
That's one. Then two, in your experience in the last 37 months of being in the United States, how will you describe your experience? Do you think it's worth it? Probably I'm working in Nigeria and making my cool cash. Do you think it's actually really worth it coming to the United States? Then three, my question would be, what can you pinpoint to be the reason for getting your admissions? Because not everyone gets that lucky to get 6 offers.
Yes.
6 admissions and 3 funding. So apart from you writing the TOEFL, your GRE, what were the things that you yourself know, these are the major reasons why I had an edge over others? Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for those questions. And I don't know if the participants are actually writing something down, but if you are actually writing something down, you want to use different search engines. When I talk about different search engines, you have what we call US News. You have US News, you have Pristine Review, you have
Pristine Review.
Yeah, you have gradschoolshoppers.com, and you can definitely use Google or search by geographical location. So now, one thing, if you, for example, if you're using US News, and you're interested in, oh, okay, I was thinking of something else, but that's fine. We're gonna take more of our time. So are you interested in, just go to usnews.com on your phone. On the search button, put in PhD in economics, click search for that. It will give you a list of schools, and it probably start from the highest ranked school. If you know you don't have a very, very good profile like myself, just scroll down, click next, and next, and next. Find some find some schools that you feel that are not highly competitive. And that's a very general advice. But if you have a very strong profile, if you have a very strong will, definitely shoot for high schools. But I'm just saying, on a very general note, you don't want to push your application where, if your GPA is 4.2 and other people applying to those schools are like 5.0 or 4.9, they're not gonna get to you, except you use some, God can, except God comes into your application and make it work. So that was the question again. Yeah, I think I answered the first question about.
Yeah, I was talking about, I also asked about your experience in the last 7 months in the United States.
Yes. So yeah, just to recap those things: US News, Pristine Review, gradschoolshopper.com. Use those. Yeah, you can definitely use those websites. Click the name of the course and the program you want to apply to. It will give you a list of schools. And you can now select from those schools. What I usually advise is that write the name of the schools down. Sometimes our network in Nigeria is not good and things just get mixed up. Write them down, have a jotter or a notebook, write the name of the schools down, then go to those schools' websites, one after the other, search for your course, search for the requirements, search for the graduate school email, the department's grad school email. Then you can definitely ask them any question you want to ask about your profile. If your profile is a good fit for them in their program, ask about what the program is all about, ask about some things, some critical questions that are not on their website. And you can do those things for various schools you are interested in. Then when you decide on the schools you are interested in, right now I'll tell people to apply to like 13 schools or more because of a lot of competition now. So you want to apply to many schools to get just to push out your applications. So apply to as many schools as you can apply to, and when you decide you apply to the schools and you wait for the response. If you don't get response in a month, send an email to the department to the graduate coordinator and ask the graduate coordinator, oh hey, I applied to my school and I applied to your school, but I've not gotten any response. Is there anything? I'm just checking if there's any update for me, and they'll probably get back to you if there's any update. That is that. My experience in the United States for the 37 months, I don't know you were calculating, but the 37 months, yeah, that's right. I came into the United States in 2019, and 36 months is 3 years. So yeah, 37 months. My experience has been wonderful. When I came into the country, there was a lot of shock, educational shock, cultural shock, and there were a lot of things I did not understand. And again, like we were saying, my background was in agricultural economics, and sometimes how we study in Nigeria, sometimes just like la grammar poor. Some lecturers teach you better, but as students, you just want to pass because that's where That's where the
That's
thing
the main
is.
thing.
So you cram and pour it out in the exam, and you're like, oh yeah, you got a A, you got a B, and you're happy with yourself. But when I came in here, it was different. I need to like start learning a lot of things. I thought I've learned too many things, even like having masters and working, having a decent job. But I had to learn a lot of things. I had to sit down. So my study hours was like 18 hours every day. When I came in at first, I was in my office all day, most of the days, and I go home at night, sleep, sleep, eat and sleep, and wake up then the following morning, then come back to my office again, start studying. So for anyone that's just starting their career or starting education in the US, in the state, I would just tell you, study hard, study well, find time to study. And that definitely will help you out. Then one other thing that helped me was I have a friend that's a local, not really local, but she's a United States citizen. So she knows about things going on around there. So she's my very good friend. And, we, we, she's my very good friend. And she was able to like also teach me about cultural things going on and how to navigate some other things moving forward. So yeah, my experience has been very great. I don't know if you want to know, but I, after a year, I think, after a year in the United States, I got married and I
Mm-hmm.
I have children now. So,
I know you're a
um,
father.
yeah, so, I mean, that's another discussion. A lot of people come in and want to like, hey, how do you marry Oyibo? Or how do you marry this and that? It's a lot of things that goes into that. Um, but definitely, if you find your love of your life anywhere, just grab the love of your life. Um, but yeah, my experience in the United States has been great. This my fourth year PhD level. Started my research. My research is going well. It's a lot of work for my research, also because it's not my expertise. It's not my expertise. My work is really intercoordinated between agriculture, between environment, between engineering, and I do not have engineering background. I do not have geology background, environmental background. So it's a lot of work for me going forward. But yes, my advisor is very, very helpful. So when you get in also, you need to get a very good advisor. If your advisor is not helpful for you, definitely switch your advisor. There's no crime in that. This is United States. In Nigeria, they will tell you, hey, you can't change clinical, you can't challenge the professor. No, here, when someone is not working for you, change the person, but let the person know, hey, I'm sorry, this is not working for me. Do you mind if I switch you for someone else? And if the person said no, if the person said yes, I mind, we're like, well, you don't have to, I just asked you, you don't, it's just out of courtesy. I asked you, it's not meant for you to decide. So, um, and that's true. I've seen one of my mentees had issues with his advisor, and it was a lot of problem. I told him this is what he needs to do, and yes, he was able to swap. It was a lot of work because the department has to come into place, but yes, he's swapped and he's happy now. So this is United States. You can do that. So one thing I think that stood out during my application was my research experience. That's one thing I would think that stood out was my research experience. I had good research experience. I had like 4 papers already published at that time before leaving Nigeria. And so I think that would be, my GRE is not high. I thought it was just like an average one. I don't know if you care to know, but it was just a very average
300,
GRE. Yeah, it's
301 or something.
yeah, I think it was 301, 302, thereabout.
Yeah.
So it was very average. So my TOEFL also was a little bit above average or even average, maybe less than. I had 80 something, 89, I think so. So I don't know where you want to clarify that thing. So I really don't, I really don't have very serious big profile, but I was persistent. I was able to push through those applications. I was emailing and emailing. I remember one of my funding came in, not the school I actually selected, but one of my funding came in on the phone. I was in Accra that day. It was late in the night in Nigeria, which was like afternoon or morning around in the US. And I called the professor. I said, hey, I've sent you an email. You have not responded to it in that email. I'm just checking in to know. And so, oh yeah, we funded you already. You're just waiting to send it. I'm like, okay, that's good. I'll wait for your email then. So you want to check up sometimes. You want to check up. Even the school I'm in right now, one thing I did again was to like check up on the grad coordinator. Hey, I applied. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, sorry, I've not gotten back to you. We already gave you admission, but we are trying to update our portal and trying to like source for money for you. And it's always good for you to like check up. I mean, the worst thing they'll tell you to like, but you have a good chance like checking up, not checking up like every other week, like every week besides checking up, but maybe once in a month. If you've not heard from the school, you can definitely check. Yes. So yeah, I would think my research experience was very instrumental in me getting my admission and funding. Also, I think my master's degree also was very instrumental too. Master's degree, I mean, I don't know how many people did master's in Nigeria already, but master's degree to me looks simpler than the bachelor's degree, probably because now you relate with the professors one-on-one kind of. So I had very good I had a good grade, which was I think distinction. I think it's distinction.
Yeah, you had a distinction. Yeah,
I had a distinction, which was like really, really, which I think was really helpful. In my school, when you don't have, I mean, in my department, in my school here, if you do not have a master's degree and you apply for a PhD program, you'll be denied outrightly. They don't want to know if even if your bachelor is 5.0, if you don't have a master's degree in a related course like this, then the application would not even scale through. And that's one of the things you need to ask the graduate coordinator before you apply. You can definitely tell, oh yeah, I sent my application, but I have some questions I want to ask you. Oh, these are my questions. If you have some, I don't have a master's degree, can I still apply for your PhD program, or what will you advise? If you have some questions that are not really explicit on their website, definitely ask them the question. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tosin, we are glad to have you around. Please, for those online, I would like our viewers to ask him question, because very soon he might leave the meeting because he have another meeting to attend. Please, yes. Do we have questions? Please, do we have questions? Our viewers, and if you can't talk, you can also drop it on our chat box. Hello?
Well, while we are waiting for people to drop their questions. Oh, okay. We have a question.
Yeah, Omoni Paul, please. Can you talk?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, there was a question you asked him. I don't know whether it was myself that didn't get the answer. You asked a question of how to identify free funding schools. I don't know whether you get the answer he provided, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I'm sorry about that. I don't think I actually answered the question. I think I answered questions about how I selected my schools. But yeah, how can you and I think I also answered it, but not directly.
Not directly,
yeah. When you select your schools, when you feel that these schools are in my profile, or these schools I'm interested in, or I'm interested in going to Texas schools. Maybe you have family in Texas, you have cousins in Texas, and you feel when you want to go to Texas, and you select these schools, you send an email to the career coordinator, ask the career coordinator about the funding. Tell them about your profile and ask them, hey, what are my chances of getting funded? And there's one thing I in my SOP at the very last part, I put there that I would like to be considered for graduate assistantship
Assistantship.
in your
Yeah,
department.
I remember I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I put that in there. So, like I said I applied to 7 schools and I got like 6 applications. Six. This thing
Offers.
it was really targeted. Any school that doesn't tell me, oh, that tells me we don't have funding, or that did not even reply to me, I'm not going to apply. I can't waste my money. Naira is expensive to get. So, when I have the schools selected already, I put down my schools, or my friends told me about schools that they feel is good for me to apply to. I email them, I tell them about my profile. This is my profile. I have GRE of 302. Those times I've done, by the time I've done the GRE. Before I did GRE, I just put my GPA and my profile. I may, program this thing. And I've been working in this field for 4 or 5 years now. And these are my experience. This is my CV. This is my transcript. I attached it to it in a single PDF file. And I asked them, what are my chances of getting funding? And some people will tell me, oh, give me a very general answer. It's based on the pool of applications, like, and you're serious to me, because serious, because maybe the person didn't even read my application at all. I mean, if the person did not even read my attached materials, I thought the person is busy or so. And that doesn't mean you should you should take them out, but that you can definitely have a drawbacks. That have a drawback on that school. But for the schools that told me, oh yes, you have a good chance of getting admission and possible funding. Our funding, we only fund 4 students, we only fund 5 students, but you have a good chance. But I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but you have a good chance. I just need the green light. When I have the green light, then I apply to those schools. And some schools, when I applied to them and did not give me funding, then I asked them about the funding. Hey, thank you for giving me this admission, but what about the funding? I need money. And this is America again. You just have to be respectful and polite, but you can ask any question that is not clear to you. And no one will be, most people will not take it off, will not find it offensive if you ask questions. So yeah, that was how I was able to streamline my the school that has funding. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, do we have other questions from the chat box?
I think someone was saying that big question.
Any other question?
Okay, so I have a question here in my private chat asking about those that doesn't have research experience or research publication. Do they have any chance of getting fully funded PhD scholarships in research publications? Research publications are not compulsory at all. They are not compulsory. Even some schools will not expect you to have publication. The government will not expect you to have publications because they believe you're just coming out of this. You're just coming out of bachelor's or master's program, and some do not expect you to have publication. And I just learned that last 2 weeks from my graduate coordinator. I asked my graduate coordinator about that, like, what about research experience, what about sites, paper being cited? And she was like, no, it's not, they are not expecting, they are not expecting that for you to have it. So,
how do Tosin, let's put it this way. If 10 persons apply and 5 of them have like 2, 3, 4, 5 publications, how can you package yourself? Because I know everything about graduate program application is more of packaging yourself well, selling yourself to the admission committee. How do you package yourself with publication or real research experience?
Yeah, if you do not have a research experience and you feel other people might be more qualified than you, you'll be able to sell yourself. And again, like I was saying earlier, don't choose very competitive schools because other people are also trying to sell themselves too. So, but any school you are choosing, try to sell yourselves well. Try to sell yourself well using your SOP and your CV. Package your CV well. But your experience. Sometimes people do not have, and again, I have mentored I've mentored mentees or I've mentored people without no experience, coming straight out of the service year and coming directly into the United States. I have them already. I mean, I have them, they're already studying various universities so you just have to, package yourself well. How can you do that? You can bring out some skills that you have, computer skills, analytical skills. If you're doing economics, they believe they want you to have some analytical skills, some critical thinking skills. Bring out your skills out. Put that in your application. Let them see that in your application. If you think your GRE is not high enough, for me, it wasn't high enough, but I was leveraging on something else. If you think there's no really other thing you can leverage on, you can do the exam again. If you have the money, do the exam again and get like 340 if possible. If you do TOEFL, you can get 120 if possible. Just try to get yourself more competitive, sell yourself well. If you think you're not having so many things to sell yourself with, work on those things, work on your skills and try to sell yourself out. So it's not compulsory to be research experience. Yes. Okay.
There's a question on the chat box. Just answer that question so we can move to the next person, next speaker. There's a question on the chat box.
And the question will be, good evening, sir. Is that? How can an applicant with second class lower position his application for MSc funding? And secondly, if you have your master's in another degree different from the bachelor's, precisely a professional master's, can you apply for a PhD degree? So I'll start from having a master's having a professional master. It also depends on the program you are going into. Some programs allow you to just have your bachelor's degree and you can apply for a PhD program.
For PhD directly.
Yes, while some programs want you to have a master's degree, and a master's degree will have to be not a professional degree, it has to be a thesis-based master's degree. So if this information is not available or it's not clear on their website, those are the things you can ask the career coordinator. So it depends on the program you are going for before you can decide if you can use your professional masters or you do not need to use your professional masters. If you have a second class lower, you have more work to do. Now, you know already that your bachelor is not so great, then you need to, you say this thing, you can't do anything about it. You can't go back to school and go and do it again. That is done already. One thing you can do for that is to build your SOP very well. Build your SOP very well. Your exams, just go and do those exams. Having a second class lawyer doesn't mean the person is not brilliant. I don't know if brilliant is the right word, but doesn't mean the person is not brilliant. It's just a lot of factors that have come in place. People experience a lot of things that counts to not making a very good grade in school. So try to do exam very well. Those exams you need to do. If you have a second class lower and you have a GRA of 340, there's something happened and may decide to
happen during your bachelor's. Yeah.
Yes, I may decide to invite you for an interview. And I said 340 not because 340 is easy to get, but I'm just trying to say if you did your best, and if you're able to do your best and put those applications out there, you have your computer skills. Excuse me, please. Or you have a computer skills. Definitely shoot out. You can't work on those things again, but you can work on some other things. So you find some other things for you to work to improve on. I have a couple of questions in the chat box.
Yeah, someone is saying most schools require 3 or 4 GPA. How do you what's the conversion to Nigerian CGPA?
Well, so okay, like I said, I did not do WES officially. But one thing I
No,
did,
you did. There's a West
I
calculator.
did, yeah, I used the West calculator. So you can do that. It's
There's a
free.
website for that.
Yes, it's free. Just go there, do the conversion yourself, and put the conversion there in your CV, and tell them you have 3.3 or 3.5 or 4. Do the conversion. It's kind of straightforward. You can definitely do that that way. How about someone who's currently doing masters and has finished coursework, just left with thesis? Are there chances? Yes, there are chances. When you're applying, I have a person like that also currently, my very good friend in Ekiti State. I told him, when you are applying for programs, just put there that you have masters. When you put bachelor, when you put, you should start, when you're writing your CV, you should start from your highest, from your highest, or from your recent, from your recent. So put your masters there and put 2022. 2022, we have not finished 2022. So put masters 2022. Put it there. If you need months, you can put December 2022. That's the last month in the year. And then put your bachelor's and everything. So if you are doing your masters, if you have finished coursework and your thesis is left, put there that you are doing put the master's degree and put a future date, future graduation date. That's how you can address that one.
Yeah, you actually answered the question well. A friend of mine just got admitted to Washington State University. He's currently doing his master's in OAU, and it's quite funny that was one of the major reasons why he was even offered the admission. They were asking, "Can we get your transcript?" It was like, "ASU is on strike," and they didn't bother him again.
Yeah.
So it's something you can include. I saw a lady also online, Fama Feyi. She got admitted to Purdue University, and Purdue is one top university like that. And she actually finished with a 2.2. So to me, having a 2.2 should not discourage you. You only have to work on yourself and build relationship with credit coordinators. I think this is very, very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a distant friend that's got his funding because of chats with professors on the LinkedIn. So you can also work on your LinkedIn, make your LinkedIn profile very good. You can send connect, you can send connect to potential advisors, potential supervisors, and funding may come in, coming through that way. And that guy had 2.2 and all, and he was able to get it through that. So yeah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we are glad to have you. Yeah, thanks a lot for the time. I know we've taken a lot of your time. I know you are prepared for another meeting now.
Yeah,
I know you're already late for the meeting.
I'm jumping into another meeting for the economists. So we have a meeting for economist meetings in the United States, environmental economists in the United States, and for those people that are training for economists to be an environmental economist, and I'm part of the committee. So I need to jump in now. And if you're an economist, you can, I don't know, I think someone has the link. Oh, no, sorry, not now, later on. Thank you. I'll be jumping off now. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Adidemola, and for everyone that is on this platform. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello? Hello, can I have you, Scholar Abiodun? Belumi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry. Thanks for bringing it to my notice. I'm muted. Yeah, okay. How's everything, sir?
Yeah, good evening. How's everyone?
Yeah, can you briefly introduce yourself to us? Let's just know your academic background, work, research experience before you're entering to the United States.
Okay. My name is Abiodun Okolumyolaito, and I had my bachelor's degree at Obafemi Awolowo University before I proceeded for my master's at the same university, Obafemi Awolowo University to be precise. I was a part of a research group in the university on a voluntary basis because after my master's, really there was nothing to do outside there. I wanted to start my PhD. So I joined the research group and I started my PhD in Nigeria. And after spending 3 years doing my PhD in Nigeria, I left to come and start PhD in the United States.
Okay, it will still be a topic we'll come back to. Yeah, so in applying to the United States, before applying to the United States, were there other countries you considered?
Yes, yes. My story is kind of funny. Number one, I've never been a fan of traveling out of the country. That's why I was doing my PhD in Nigeria. I wanted to finish my PhD in Nigeria. I love my dear country, to be precise. So, but when COVID hit, things started dragging in my PhD, and I was not really doing anything challenging for me. So I started looking into other countries. The first country I started looking into was South Korea. And the second country, okay, before South Korea, I started looking into UK, then South Korea, then USA. For UK, I attended interviews. I finished first round, second round, third round, because it was a very highly competitive scholarship. It's called EPSR. ESPRC is one of the top funded scholarship in the US. They recently released another huge money into that scholarship. So I could not get in there because I did not have enough experience, enough research experience. The second one was South Korea. Well, I was dropped in South Korea because of credentials. If I tell you the credential that dropped me, I got a BK scholarship in South Korea. BK scholarship is one of the it's one of the best scholarship in Korea, and South Korea to be precise. They dropped me because I could not provide my father's death certificate. Somebody will smile. My father's death certificate. That was the reason why they dropped me. So that was before I finally got into the US. Thank you.
Okay. So your application to the US, if you
Yes.
had to describe it, did you do any of the standardized tests? Did you do any West evaluation?
Okay. Basically, I did not write any standardized test. I wrote for USA. I wrote IELTS because of South Korea. South Korea needed me to write IELTS. But coming to the US, many of the institutions I was focusing on waived IELTS for Nigerians, and the other examinations were optional, not compulsory. So they were not yardstick to choose or when they were considering students for the admission, to be precise. So I can say I did not write for the US.
Okay, so you didn't do West evaluation?
Yes, I depending on the university I am presently, I had to do West evaluation. There are some other universities that I was doing a background on that did not require, but where I am presently required a West evaluation, which was a lot of money,
I understand. Before you spend $208, some extra. I understand the process though. So I'm just asking those questions so that people would have the idea that there's a West evaluation and some
yes,
West
evaluation is not general, but it's also important, especially for you to know where you stand in the USA grade level. So it's not important because not all universities will seek for it, but there are some schools is a yardstick, very important for some schools.
Yeah, so in getting your funding, what kind of funding do you get? Is it a GA, TA, HRA, and what's the module, the risk focus?
My position in the university is majorly sponsored by as a graduate research assistant. It's not departmental base, it's a professor base. So because there are some, I'm also, and when I resumed, I had to take up a teaching assistantship role also. I had to take up a teaching assistantship role also. However, it's all been fund. My fund is coming from the professor, not from the department. There are some people that are being paid by the department for the same role. So you can be fortunate that in a department, there is a departmental fund for TARA, why it might just be a professor-based role.
Yeah. Before we move, someone asked the question on WES. Can you use a Canadian WES evaluation for US WES evaluation?
Now, just to be clear, I don't really have a Canadian PR WES evaluation, but I know the major, once you do a WES evaluation, they will specify which school you are taking into. You have to specify, do you want to do the WES evaluation for a US-based school, or do you want to do a WES evaluation for a Canada-based school? So you have to specify that when you are doing your evaluation. You have to specify that when you're doing your evaluation.
Okay, thanks a lot. So how were you able to navigate your schools? How were you able to navigate your university? You know, since US has over 3,000 universities. So how were you able to narrow down? Because like now you told us the schools you selected were schools that do not require English language and co.
Sorry, my PI just entered the lab, so I needed to step outside.
I understand, no problem.
So please come again with the question, please.
Yeah, so how were you able to narrow down from the 3,000 universities, above 3,000 universities in the US, how were you able to narrow down to the schools that do not require some things?
Okay,
that you don't have?
My journey was kind of complicated, and finally it was directed. So what do I mean by complicated? The kind of background I had was a challenge. So just pay attention to it. I had physics background. My BSc was physics. However, what I wanted to do, is more of environmental. So instead of going to an environmental department for my master's, my master's degree, I took it in the same physics department, now focused on health physics and environment. So in submitting an application, seeking professors or seeking schools that will take something that has to do with environmental, but we still majorly be on built from physics or engineering base was very difficult. So for me to be able to narrow that down, I needed to start following up some places where I know that, oh, these people or these persons publish my interest. So I was using both Twitter and LinkedIn. So on Twitter and on LinkedIn, I was not casting my net into one. I was not casting my net into one sea. I was casting it into different sea. For instance, because of my physics background, I started looking for professors that I can apply for their master's program using my physics background, just BSc, to come for a MSc PhD program in areas of physics. While if I want to use my MSc, I started looking for people that will permit me to do environment, and they will still allow that foundation. So the school I am presently, presently now I'm in Morgan State University, and I am studying civil engineering. Oh, somebody say, wow, civil engineering from all this complicated background. Yes, that's why I said professor search was very important. So, and my department here did not require that you should have a civil engineering background. The background they required include physics. So that was very easy for them to admit me because I had physics background into a civil engineering course. And they now use my master's degree to serve as a master's certification. So with that master's certification, I did not require to do a master's PhD. So I just came in for a PhD direct. So when you're searching, because the range is so much in the US here, you have to be able to narrow down your search. If you cannot narrow down your search, you will just be turned off when you send applications. Like my earlier speaker was saying, if you don't look for persons that can accept you for what you already have and what you can offer, this too is very important. What you have and what you can offer. So now, one of the things that my professor saw in me that was very interested in was, I had this background and I had data science capabilities. I had I had ability to deploy sensors on the field. All those abilities was what he has seen, and he said, oh, this boy can do what I want to do next, because he's in civil engineering, but he's focused on transportation. Now, sustainability is in everything. So that was how I came. So please, when you are looking for preservers, you need to just narrow it down. And narrowing it down, you can do it school by school. That's one thing I know I did. I had to open a Word document. And in the Word document, I started looking for. I did not go to R1 school. So that's another thing you can do. All the institutions in US, they have a catalog and they have grades.
Yeah, R1, R2, R3.
R1, R2, R3. I'm in a R2
R3.
university. I am in a R2 university, which is on its way to become a R1. In the next few years, will soon become an R1 because of the effort they are putting in. So if you want to go for an R2 university, you must have your plan. If you want to go for R1, just know that you want to compete with one of the best. So I'm in a R2 university, so I had to be able to arrange my profile. Profiling is another thing, and that's one thing that has affected students over the years. I was just reading a student's a friend. If she's in the US here, not a direct friend, an indirect friend like that. I was reading up. What she did was dietetics. Or is it dietary, or let me just check it out. I just saw Yes, I just saw it now. She got into Oregon State University. Her BSc was basically in nutrition and dietetics. She did not do GRE, she did not do TOEFL, she did not do ITS, she did not pay application fee. And she's in Oregon State University, College of Public Health and Human Sciences. So that you could know that she was able to narrow her search down to that professor. And it was very easy. So I found people that once you can narrow your search down to what they need, just forget it. Your life is easy. And that search is what you need to spend, not one day, you spend weeks. If you can do it intentionally. What I did then was devoting my night for 1 week or 2 weeks to search. Now, what now saved my search on the long run was a connection. A friend said, oh, like now, somebody needed this. Oh, like now, apply to this school. That direction was very important. And if you can just pay attention, the last speaker also mentioned that, oh, Samuel said, look at USA. So there's this thing that you just need to be open. This is not a secret journey. Allow somebody to be able to guide you. Oh, seek opinion. Don't just go to everywhere. Seek opinion. I think that's another thing I can say about application and narrowing down your search.
Yeah, before I ask further questions, someone was asking, you're in what university? Morgan State University, right?
Yes, Morgan State University.
Yeah, Morgan State University, Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, yes, so let me ask this question. How important is article publication in graduate school application? Is it important?
Not very important. Please note my word, not very important. This still depends on the school, depends on what you're applying for. Now, one way to showcase your skill, what you can do is article publication. But if you don't have a publication that can demonstrate your skill, your SOP must become a place, or your personal statement. Yes, your personal statement must be a place to demonstrate the skill.
Yeah, I had your application, you had how many publications?
I had over 5 publications when I was applying. No, I had over 5 publications, and they were not just local journals, they were international journals. So they could see what I have been doing over the years. But I have friends that got here with just one, and I have somebody that got here without any publication. There's somebody in my lab that entered for PhD without any single publication.
Okay. Yeah, something is happening. There's a trend on social media. What's your take about this? A PI said he rejected the students because they had 32 publications within a year.
It's not possible, sir. I'm sorry, but it's no for you. Do you know? Look, let me bring this challenge or this sentence to us. While I was still in Nigeria during the COVID period, towards the time COVID was leaving Nigeria around September, October, when I went to my university, I met with my peer. My peer said, so like, what are we working on? I said, nothing really. I've just been trying to see if I can push my project, but it has been stagnant. He had a friend, and the friend said, you boys, you are not serious. Why did he say that? He says, come. And I went to him. I thought he wanted to tell me something interesting. And he opened his laptop. See this student. During COVID, he has published over 12 journal articles. Myself, I folded my hands. I was shocked. 12 articles in less than 12 months. How are you doing it? Are you just writing something? So to be sincere, when internationally, when you present that, they will throw you off. Listen, they know they have publications. They know what it takes to publish a single
article,
a single rich and meaningful article. It takes a lot of effort. Now, just to say this on the side note, one of the things I never knew my PI was testing me on was, while in Nigeria, it was in the middle of a project. And he just said I should come up and, let me share this project with you. And I had to do the data analysis part and write the report part. Do you believe we wrote that paper for about, they've been doing this study for a long time. I came in and we had to finish it under a month. Just today, the review, we submitted the paper in August, I think August 1 or August 5, we submitted the paper. The review just came out today and it was accepted for publication with correction. Now, look at that. One paper, how many months is this now? They started way before I joined them. Now, this is almost the third month. We are going to the third month. It just got accepted. So when you meet such a person, you tell them, I have 32 publications in a year. Is either you are publishing low quality journals or you are publishing in a place without impact. And that's another thing.
Journals, yeah.
When you are publishing a journal, publish in a minimum of 1 point or 2 points impact factor. Please look out for it. All my publications, it's only one that has less than 1 point impact factor. The rest were in 2.4 points impact factor. That's what makes it rich. If you can publish one article in your life, and this is in a 3 point something or 4 point something impact factor journal, they will respect you. So the quality of the journal matters. It's not just about publishing. The quality also matters. So when I saw it on Twitter and I saw it on LinkedIn, I even myself, I said, this PI did the right thing, because the guy will be oppressing his colleagues. And another thing with publishing is this, please guys, publishing has to do with effort. It has a level of effort. Samuel and myself, I think I worked with him on a particular journal, and I knew how long it took him to publish that one journal. So it has to do with effort. It's not just about publishing, please, so that they won't, because a lot goes into it. That's on. If they will accept you because of article, they will accept you because of a meaningful publication. Thank you.
Yeah, let me ask this question. I have a friend here. The problem he's facing is he believes his 6th publication is not good enough, probably to get a PhD in the US. What's your view about that? And the publications are doing 2 and 4. Is that good enough?
Please, I did not hear that part. They had what? Impact factor?
Yeah, I said the guy has 6 publications.
Okay.
And they are within the range of 2 and 3.5 impact factors.
No,
but his belief is too small.
That's good enough for somebody who wants to just come here and pick up and build. But if you want to come here and come and show them that you already have strengths, you have to publish high. But this place, they're not looking for the best. I need to just let me rephrase that word. It's not that they're not looking for the best. They don't need you to come and tell them you are better. You are already made. They need to see that you can be made and you have the motivation to be made. That is majorly what they are looking for. So if you come here showing that, I can do, I am perfect, I just want to come and help your life, it's another thing. No, you're not helping them. They are the one that want to help you. So they want to see the hunger in you. They want to see the hunger in our writing. When we are writing SOP, they want to see that you are hungry for what you are writing for. They want to see that you are motivated for what you are writing for. My PI said something, and this is just to buttress what you have been saying about securing. We just returned from a conference yesterday, and in that conference, 3 of the students in his lab went with him. 1 lady, 2 guys. While we were talking, another professor from another university, Tufts, TUFTS University came around.
Yes, yeah.
And while she was discussing with our professor, she cited the lady and she asked just two questions. And do you believe that the professor was so interested in this? She just started her PhD. And do you know what she said? Don't, by next year, I'll be coming to interview you and see if I can give you a position in my team when you are done with your PhD. Somebody she's not yet done with PhD, but they could see that she has the passion, the motivation. Do you know the next thing they told my professor? So after this woman professor saw the kind of student my professor was, do you know the next thing she told my professor? She said, please, do you have this type of students? Send them my way. Right now, she said, I have grants, I don't have students. She literally asked us to recommend. Should I tell you, the three of us are Nigerians. So she's right now. She even gave us the ID card, our personal business card. She said, if we know students that are like us, send such students our way. And I could really tell you, this also happened to me in South Korea. I told you I won a scholarship, but because of admission criteria, documents, they did not take me. The professor, I have not resumed. The professor, after interacting with him and doing stuff with him online, said, oh, all right, I love this. Can you recommend students like you my way? And I think if someone did not forget, I think I was telling him or David or somebody that time. So it's one, they just need to see it, and you are good to go.
Okay. Yeah. So on your graduate application, how will you describe exchanging mails with professors? Because I think that's one of the, okay, let me rephrase the question this way. In getting admitted into the US or to any other school, I believe there are three parts to doing that. One, either mailing the professor,
yes,
or you probably apply for open vacancies, or you just apply directly to a department. Which will you prefer for any student as the surest way securing admission and funding?
It's all about it has three, let me say it has three things, and they increase with the three range as you have put it. Number one, if you have a professor, a PI interested in you, is very sure. And he has funding. That's another thing. So a PI might be interested in you. I've seen a PI interested in me and he did not have funding. That was why I did not apply to this school. He was interested. He asked me what software do I use. I started showing what I could do. He was ready. So he said, oh, so you are welcome. Hope you know the school fees. I said, sir, I'm looking for assistantship. He said, sorry, at the moment, there's no money in our research lab. There's no money. If you can bring yourself, and then I'll be ready to write recommendation for you. That was the last day I called him and we spoke. EOD, nothing to discuss. US is not Nigeria. On all things, it's not. So we have to be very careful. So professor is the surest. That's if he has funding. Number two is department is the surest if they have funding. There are some departments, they don't pick based on professor. Professor can recommend, but there are some departments they pick based on what you can do. So when all of you submit, I have the department, they pick people based on their submission. You submit and they pick you. You submit and they pick you. So that is another direction for some students. I hope you understand.
Yeah, someone asked the question. He said, what's the full meaning of PI? You have been mentioning PI. I want you to say it. I know it's
principal investigator.
Investigator, yeah. So it's principal investigator, like the person in charge of your investigation, your research.
Your research,
yes. So in mailing your professor, what's the step? Because three persons can mail a professor and one person will get a reply. Some might not even reply. So what are the things that should be considered? Because most people do it wrongly and they'll say, I have been mailing, nobody has been replying. What's the secret to emailing professors?
Secret to emailing professors. Okay, now I just told you something about the professor now. She's been looking for students. No students is really coming her way. Meaning, Number one, mailing professors, you don't look for the right professor. You just want to apply to any professor. So mailing professor means, number one, you have to look for the right professor. You have to look for the right professor. Looking for the right professor has to do with what you can do, your background, what you can do, and what you can offer. Please understand this difference. Your background, what you can do with your background, what you can offer might not be in your background. I'm a physicist. I know how to do theoretical part of physics. I know how to do some things in physics. But what other thing can I offer apart from physics? That's it. So these three things, when you put it on the table, it can help you narrow down your search. So when you are mailing your professor, the first thing you want to do, people don't, there's this short attention span. Now, something happened also recently. A LinkedIn professor was vexed and he put it out. 100 people submitted applications for postdocs. It's not even PhD, it's not master's, so postdoctoral position. 100 people, 99 of them, and 90 of them did not read what
the requirement.
is the requirement.
I saw it too.
No, it was so funny that even at that level, people were not paying attention to what he said he needed. So there are some, that's why you see those, if you are mailing a professor that did not put out adverts, it's different from when you mail a professor that puts out adverts. A professor that puts out adverts would have specified compulsory, optional things. Once you don't have it, the best you can do is to try to, when you are mailing, try to tell him something you think you can do similar to it. But once you are mailing him with something that does not even relate with what he needs at that moment, he will not really pay attention. Number two is when you're not mailing somebody who did not put out adverts, you have to do your background check very well. You have to read, seek out instructions, know what the person is doing. When I say read, it's about read his articles. Number two, read his biography in his school website. So when I was looking out for mine, I had to, I did not even see any of his articles online, like as if the man has not published anything. However, when I got here, he has over 40 publications. How did I know? On his school profile. The school profile will give you an update about the person. I knew he's the director of a research group. I knew what was his research interest. I knew his past research. So using these three things, I was able to connect the dots. So if you are mailing somebody that has put out an advert, it's different from when you are mailing somebody who did not put out adverts, but may have funding. There are some people, they have funding, they did not put out adverts. How do you know them? They are the director or the lead research one. There is a woman in this university, I will not put out her name. She's sitting, she's a professor here. She's one of the NSF research, one of the people that approve grants in NSF. Do you know the meaning of approving grants in NSF in the United States? That is the people funding research in the United States. So if I sent her a message once before I came here, when it was reading her profile. It was in reading her profile I got to know that. So such a person, she needs students, but before she can get your attention, you must have what she's doing presently, what you think you can do through her work. So that's basically it. So looking out for professor, two things: those that put out adverts, those that do not put out, and you must make sure 3 paragraphs, very short. Your introduction, yourself, your basic background. Paragraph 2, interjecting where you are coming from and what the person is doing. Paragraph 3, what you can. So just those 3 paragraphs, succinct enough to get their attention. Too much stories, we will read them off. Thank you.
Okay, so in this graduate studies application, will you say rejection is not real?
Love letter is the shortest. Love letter is normal. Once you are coming for this thing, you must be prepared for love letter now. Some of us toasted many girls who don't agree. So it's similar with when you are looking for admission, you have to
yeah, the major reason why I'm saying this is because there was a time I was in a group with I think the best student in Unilag. That was 2017. That was what's the name of this guy? I've forgotten his name now. He's currently in Stanford. They finished with 5 points from Unilag, and it's the first 5 points in Unilag. The guy applied to 5 universities and he only got 1 admission, Stanford.
So
So this actually shows, this proves to us that even if you have all the requirements, it was a GA, you had a publication, you only
love
got 1
letter does
offer.
not mean
So it shows
love
that
letter is not about what your it's not about you do not meet up. It's about what is available. It's about what is available. It's about what is available.
okay. Someone is asking a question that I would like us to address. He said, what's funding? What's they should discuss about the funding.
Okay.
Can you read the box?
Okay. When we talk about funding, there's funding can be in 2 ways. Is either it is department or it is your professor or your school.
Sorry.
Department, professor, or your school. Now, if it is department, it is 2 things. It can either be a GA or a Harry. If it is your school, it is not GA, it is not RA. Just be waking up and be sleeping and be going to class. They call them a scholarship. That one is pure scholarship.
Okay.
Scholarship is
Then
different
some
from
people get
assistantship.
fellowship.
Yes, and some people get
Yeah,
fellowship.
some people also get fellowship.
So there's fellowship, there's scholarship, there's assistantship. Assistantship means you will work.
Yeah.
Scholarship, be waking up and be sleeping. Fellowship, be waking up and be sleeping.
Just have your CGPA.
Just have your CGPA.
I get your CGPA.
If it is assistantship you have gotten, you will be teaching as the teaching assistant. So when we say GA, there's nothing like GA. It's either GTA or GRE. So GA is graduate assistantship, which is graduate teaching assistantship or graduate research assistantship. Teaching assistantship, you go to class, support. GRE, you'll be doing research in the lab. But most times,
in the lab, publishing,
none of them comes empty. Most people I've seen here, they have GTA and GRE. Once you are a GA, you are doing both.
You are doing both, yes.
There's no difference in it. So but if it is scholarship, it can be school. A school is you want the professor scholarship or you want this national scholarship for the place. So that's the difference.
Yeah, before I ask my question, someone asked like, can you repeat the content of the email? Can you repeat the content of the email format?
Email is what I'm saying majorly. 3 paragraphs. Paragraph 1, your introduction, who you are, your name, your grade, if you have done any standardized test, and your background,
publication.
Basic 3. So if you have publications. Now you see that second paragraph is where you want to sell yourself. You want to tell a short story of yourself and what you can do with what the lab is doing. Let's take, for instance, I'm into air quality, and the research is into, they're not directly into air quality, but they have something to do with air quality. I can just tell a 5-line short story like, this is what I did in my, from my bachelor's degree. I had the opportunity to carry out this experiment where we found out that the air quality in Nigeria using this sensor, using this method was poor. From there, we were able to publish a research article which has been cited by this. I have sold myself to the guy. I am looking to continue this. I'm going to go deeper in this research. I'm looking to explore more of this research using this and this and this available in your laboratory. It shows you have read what is in their laboratory and also to contribute to this field that you are focusing on. You have already brought what you have done to what he is doing. So that means you want to build up on it. So not that it's disjointed. Paragraph 3, you are looking for funding. You will not mind further communications, your attachments, just 3 short paragraphs about, and I'm sure because people don't read long code mail. Code mail should be something you can read by yourself under 2-3 minutes, and you will know what is there. So you can also try it. And once you write it out, try to read it. Can use a glance through it and pick points under 2-3 minutes. If you can't, it's very difficult for the PI also.
Okay. So my question, since rejection is real in graduate studies application, how do you manage rejections to ensure you finally get your 1 year?
Okay, just for clarity's sake, I only applied to schools that I know I have chances on. Number two, I did not complete all the applications. Just to be sincere, the only school I completed all the applications, all the requirements is the school I am now. So
Okay.
many other schools, I did not complete the
Okay.
applications. The reason is because if you have the kind of professors I have, it's very difficult for them to write recommendation for you almost 5 times in a month. So you have to shoot your shots very well. You have to be very careful. So what I did when I was there, my own rejection was in form of code mails. So I had a lot of code mails. I was a time I was writing minimum of 10 code mails almost every day or every week, 10 code mails, and I don't get response. The ones I get response might be sorry, we don't have a spot in our blah blah blah. So how do I prepare myself for it? How I prepared myself for it was I was doing something. So if this come, praise God. If it does not come, praise God. So even when I was rejected in my South Korea, I did not really felt bad. I just asked somebody to go and make pick my document so that I can use it in the nearest future. But I'm not going to use it again. But sincerely, you just have to have it's the mindset of what is the mindset? It's probability. It's probability. So be prepared. It's no matter, that's why don't spend money too much on application. Go for schools that have free applications. It will reduce your hypertension, and schools that will not require WES okay, once you do WES once, you just have to pay for shipping fee to every other school. WES is once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime is WES, and you just be shipping it to any other schools. IELTS once, you'll be shipping it to any other school. So, but most schools have what is called waiver. Some schools don't have. They don't have at all. So don't bother. Some schools have. Let's say like 50% of the schools in US we have. And they can have it through recommendation, through writing to the graduate coordinator, through attending open house events.
Virtual events.
So those are the things. So this will not allow the blood pressure to rise too much. And it's not allow when the rejection comes to affect you too much.
I don't know. I wouldn't like you to put it to people should depend on the waiver, because there's a possibility that the school that will actually offer you
a lot of
might.
Okay, for my school now, I do not have waiver. I paid $70 application fee. I did the WES evaluation, $250. I had to pay for my transcript to be worked on because I applied during tough time where nobody was in school. So I had to pay extra charges. You know what it means. So if I could do all this, I had to start begging professors up and down. So it's not an easy ride, to be sincere. Application is not an easy ride. It's mental. It has a lot of mental effort. If you don't put the mental effort, you will not get it. If you don't put the mental effort.
Okay. Now the floor is open for questions. But before people ask their question, so how can you describe how many months have you spent now in the US? I think 1 month.
I just spent a month in the US.
Yeah. So how will you describe the experience, the feeling? I know you are still. How will you describe it now? I will call it you're in your honeymoon phase, because you can't really give us a full recap.
And the first thing I want to say is, if you want to come to the US, just be ready to spend a lot of money. Even with grants. Let us understand that scholarship only covers you when you come to the US. But how to get to the US? It's a lot of process. Visa, flight, a lot of things goes into it. A lot of things goes into it. Please, let's keep this to heart. So adjusting to the US weather is a tax. Is a tax because when I first came, for the first 2 weeks, I was down with Qatar. I'm on UDI because temperature is going down gradually. Very soon now, we will not walk on the streets easily again. And everywhere here is cold. If you don't like cold, buy a lot of cardigan. Everywhere here is cold. I mean it. Sorry. Sure. And it's expensive.
We are gradually moving towards winter.
US is expensive. US is expensive.
Okay.
You pay tax
Yeah,
on
we have two
everything.
questions. We have two questions currently. One, someone is asking that most applications, do they require your passport number?
Yeah, that's the means to identify you. You have to post a method of identification. I know majorly what I used for mine was my passport identification. Was basically.
Okay, then I think the
My
second
professor,
question
my
was
professor just called me right now.
okay, so you have to leave.
Yes, my professor just called me right now.
Okay,
Class,
thanks a
7
lot
years.
then. No problem.
Please, every other question you can just pop it out through somewhere. I will attend to it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So back to the question. I think a question was asked that can I use my engineering certification to get admission? I think something like that. I saw something like that. Yeah, you just need to walk around selling yourself. Everything still boils down to your SOP. That is a statement of purpose or personal. Some call it personal statement. That's the PS. So you just need to include that in your application. Sell yourself. Tell them what you've done, and if it's convincing enough, you can convince a supervisor that has a funding, and through that you get your admission. And what will I say now? Okay, someone asked for the name of the person and the school. I think someone asked that is Abiodun Balumi, Morgan State University, in case you need to reach him. I think at this point, do we still have extra questions? Is there any question? Okay, so I would still use this medium to appreciate everyone for joining us today and for all the speakers, and also to please, earlier this year I met a professor. I'm coming, please. I want to read the chat. I'm coming. Okay, please, earlier this year I met a professor that was interested in supervising my thesis. I didn't get the question. The question is not so clear. Please, maybe you rephrase it. Okay, but once you get the attention of a professor, the next thing is to follow up. And one of the best way to know if a professor is interested in you is most likely going to call you for a Zoom interview or a Skype interview. And through that, you market yourself. If he's interested, he will tell you to proceed with the application. And there is a 50% chance once a professor tells you I have interest in you, there's a 50% chance that you might be offered the admission. Why I said 50% is in case there are some schools where the admission committees want to make the final decision, and there are some schools whereby it's the funding. If the professor is the one funding the admission, he has a say. But if it's the department that has the funding, the school might decide. Because I have a friend who is currently in Washington State University, and what happened with him was a professor assured of giving him the admission, but I guess the funding was departmental. So what happened with the guy was that he applied to University of Florida. Two of them were selected. One was finally given. He was on reserve list. Pending the time, the person who got the admission will reject. Okay, was rejected. The person finally didn't reject it, but he was lucky. To have two applications, Washington and University of Florida. And that's why he was able to move to University of. But I need a GRE. Okay. Now I get your question. Yeah, so he was able to move to Washington State University. And so one of the things I would say is in applying to the US, one application is good, but sometimes it's good to have other options in case the funding is not coming from the professor. If the funding is coming from the professor and he gives you his word, you don't have a problem about it. The only thing you just need to do is pray. But if the funding is coming from the department, the admission committee will give the final say. And for the person who asks the question that you have a professor that is interested in you, but it requires a GRE, just give your GRE the best shot. If possible, aim above 310. That's the best option I will give you. Aim above 310. If you can get above 310, especially having above 4 points in analytics as your hour, and having above maybe 140, 150, 150, 1Q, and the R, and the verbal. If you can have above 50, 152, it's cool. So it will give you a better chance. And someone asked if this program is being recorded. Yes, it's been recorded, and we hope to send a link where you can actually watch it for emphasis sake. So I think we've come to the end of this program, and we are glad we called, though it was a short notice, and we have you around. No, no, we would make the stuff public. Aside you dropping the chat, we'll make the information public, so you all see it. And I would want us all to know that this webinar will continue through the month of October. And as it continues through the month of October, we'll be covering other countries like Israel, South Korea, United Kingdom, and we have able and experienced people who are willing to share from their life experience. So please, as much as possible, our focus are on people, especially those who are considering for 2023 application. So please, in all you are doing, let's be diligent with code mailing. Rejection should just be a redirection. It should not be a discouragement. I've seen someone who spent 1 year only to get, I watched a YouTube video this morning, yesterday. The guy spent 1 year to secure a professor in Canada. So please, just put in your best. And I wish you all the best. So please, as much as possible, we'll be sending more information about subsequent meeting, subsequent webinar, and the countries